All right. What is up, everyone? Ah,
Hey.
it's been a week.
It's been a week.
This week has felt like forever.
Yeah. Lucky you, man.
Why, has it gone by quick for you?
Every week goes by quick for me. Time, man, it's disappearing so quickly.
I guess you had better week than I did.
Good week, bad week, doesn't matter. Man, it all flies by. Um, so I'm sure that's mostly perception. You might figure that out when you get a little bit older.
Maybe. Maybe in a month or two, or maybe in a year or two.
Yeah, maybe in 5 or 10.
Maybe in 2 hours. We'll see. How's everyone doing today, tonight, whenever you watch this? We're the Bad Brothers. I'm Big Bubba Brogdon.
I'm Boosh Dingo, the Lucha Dork.
There you go. And we're back again with our wrestling shenanigans and just overall weekly scheduled talk.
Yes, sir.
Except today, y'all get to hear my food ASMR as I'm eating. I'll tell you, it's not going to sound good. I schmack.
What you grubbing on?
Just some sesame chicken.
Nice.
I had dumplings, but I already ate those.
Nice.
Got myself a cup of water.
Cool. Well, yeah. I didn't watch any WWE main roster this week. I did watch NXT, and that was pretty lackluster. I think there was a the qualifier for the Iron Survivor tournament thing that they were doing. That was a good match, but everything else forgettable.
Yeah. I bet the reason it was a good match is because it had Axiom in it.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head there. But yeah, did you catch any Raw, SmackDown, anything of note going on there?
I caught a few things.
Yeah.
Caught Dolph Ziggler returning and getting himself into the United States title picture. The U.S. title picture is getting big, man.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do like U.S. title elimination chamber. I think that's what they're leading up to.
Cool. That could be cool. A lot of the names, I guess, that are kind of in that arena there, vying for that title are all pretty talented and a good mix of I think Ziggler, if he's in there now, we saw Ziggler and Austin Theory a few weeks back, and that was a really enjoyable match. Yeah, I guess Lashley, Rollins still in the picture as well. Yeah, so that makes for a good mix of talented guys.
Yeah, it does. Let's see, we got Mustafa Ali, Austin Theory, Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Dolph Ziggler. That's 5 people in the U.S. title picture. They add one more, then that'd be 6 people, and that'd be an elimination chamber match.
Yeah, I mean, you probably are predicting that quite right. That's probably what's going to happen.
Maybe. Thing is, who would come out on top?
Austin Theory, man. Austin Theory.
Maybe. Just maybe. Really nothing else went on with the Raw roster. We had most of the night revolve around the JBL poker tournament.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was confusing.
Yeah, I've caught up a few clips of that. Not really my cup of tea. I'm not really a JBL fan either. So
Although some of the stuff he did back then was a little questionable, but it was more the writing and the character than him.
I mean, I've never really been into him for real. Politics and personal, you know, stuff aside, him as a wrestler has just never really entertained me or done much for me. I think the closest maybe I got to ever really enjoying him was in the Acolytes.
With Farouk.
Yeah, but even then, I mean,
APA.
yeah, the APA stuff was okay, but it the Acolytes when they were doing the Ministry of Darkness stuff with Undertaker, that they were pretty cool in that role. But even still, Farouk, Ron Simmons, I mean, he's way more talented in my estimation. He was a little bit more the focal point for me. But I enjoyed Layfield in that role, I guess. Everything else, yeah, just not really my kind of wrestler.
Yeah, JBL is I like his finishing move's name. I don't like how simple it is though.
Yeah, remind me what it is and what it's called.
It's just a lariat. It's a rebound lariat, but he calls it the lariat. Was it lariat from hell?
Yeah.
So it's a cool name. It's just him just doing a lariat. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, he does have one of the better lariats. I will give him that. Does look like it would take your freaking head off.
Well, he's a big guy, so
yeah.
I mean, it's a simple move like the DDT. So
yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to that. As long as you've got the right guy doing it, and I will give him that. He's got a great clothesline or lariat. So.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I see what you mean by JBL not being a big fan of the whole character and everything. But other than the whole JBL poker tournament, nothing went on Raw. Nothing.
Yeah, I didn't really see any buzz about anything as far as main roster stuff this week.
Very lackluster.
Yeah, I mean, right now, kind of where I'm at with WWE and main roster is, I watch everything after the fact anyway. So the only thing that I'm really 100%, I guess, committed to watching every week is Dynamite. I pretty much watch that pretty quickly and without, really seeing buzz or hearing things too much. If I catch SmackDown or Raw, it's typically because there's some buzz about a match or something that happened that made me seek it out and take the time to sit down and watch it. So yeah, I didn't, like I said, there wasn't really anything that I recall off the top of my head that really popped off this week that piqued my interest. So I skipped Raw. I've been trying to give NXT a chance, so I've been pretty much signing up for that every week for the past several weeks. Hit or miss, man. There's been some really good episodes, and then there's been some weaker episodes. So
now NXT did something very good. It was ballsy, but it was also really good. They did the whole like Dolph Ziggler coming in and taking the title from Braun Breaker thing, but in the tag team division.
Yeah. I guess Deadline, was that the event?
NXT Deadline, that happened Saturday. I caught a little bit of it as I was coming home from Smith Station, fixing my car.
Yeah, I've got it queued up, ready to watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I've already gotten all the results for the whole card, so I know everything that happens. But there's been a little bit of rumbling about the I guess both of the Iron Survivor finals with the women and the men's.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of interested in checking those out. And then, of course, as you alluded to, New Day taking the tag team championships off of Pretty Deadly. I've heard, pretty good things about the match from people who admittedly are not fans of either team. So that's a good sign, when you've got people who, wouldn't normally call themselves fans of either side, saying that it was a good and entertaining match. That's typically a good indication that you've got something good and entertaining. So, yeah, I plan on sitting down and watching that. I have a hard time with New Day minus Big E because I do see Kofi and Xavier as the Genettis of the New Day. Big E to me is the standout star. He's the one that's the real big talent there. So, seeing Kofi and Xavier do the whole New Day shtick without Big E doesn't work for me as well. Also, I mean, the whole New Day gimmick stuff, they haven't really come up with anything new in quite a while. They seem to be relying on the classic New Day tropes that got them to where they are. Not necessarily anything wrong with that, but for a while, New Day was, pretty innovative, at least with the comedy and the catchphrases and the different things that they would come up with.
I miss the cereal.
The cereal, man, the pancakes. You remember the pancakes?
I remember the pancakes.
Yeah.
It was like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, even something so simple as pancakes, on paper, that does not sound like something that should really get over and work, but it did. They made it work. So,
and the name of the cereal, I want to get the cereal, the Bootios.
Yeah.
I love the name.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But like I said, I feel like they've gotten a little bit stale. They don't seem to be really. I don't know. I don't want to say. Maybe getting comfortable is the right way to phrase that, and just kind of relying, like I said, on the old New Day tropes, and not really. I mean, they haven't really pushed anything new in some time, unless I've missed it.
Yeah. Hopefully, when Big E returns, and he should be returning Royal Rumble season, or maybe even before WrestleMania season. Maybe he'll rejoin Xavier and Kofi and go after the NXT title.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I've mentioned before, I think maybe a few episodes back, that the thing that I would like to see from Big E would be a solo run. I'm not necessarily in favor of them like feuding or splitting up the group. Maybe putting some distance between them and having Big E go on a solo run, because I do see like main event potential in Big E. I may be wrong, but I like Big E. I think he's got a lot more potential than what WWE is really tapped into.
Yeah, and Big E is also one of the only members of the New Day to be close to a triple crown, to being a Grand Slam champion. I think Kofi's a Grand Slam champion.
Oh yeah.
Kofi has won the WWE Championship. He's won the tag team titles many times. He's won the U.S. title. I don't know if he's won the Intercontinental title. I think he has. I think he's faced Carlito for the Intercontinental title and beat him. It might have been someone else.
Yeah.
But Big E, to become a Grand Slam champion, now needs to hold the U.S. title.
Which seems feasible, man. With them, kind of ramping up the U.S. title picture. When Big E returns, of course, that's still going to be a while. In terms of how much can really happen and change between now and then. But maybe they bring him in and have him win that United States championship.
Be the face of Raw.
Yeah, that could be cool. I just don't know. I think I don't know. Like I said, not really saying break up the New Day, but I think letting him have some distance from the other two guys for a little while for that solo run, I think would be a little bit more entertaining rather than having him get a solo championship and having Kofi and Xavier still kind of hanging around.
Yeah, and I just need to say, I think John pointed this out a few episodes back. He always commented on our stuff. Xavier needs a singles titles run. I mean, it's nice to see Big E to have a singles title run, but I want Xavier to win a singles title.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Xavier is probably my least favorite of the three. And I know, initially whenever New Day started, Xavier was kind of in a managerial role.
Xavier's the one that brought them together.
Right. So I don't know. I see him a little bit more in that role for me, just in the sense that I don't really see Xavier really is being anything more than kind of what he is. I don't dislike the guy, but it's hard for me to imagine Xavier Woods Intercontinental Champion. Xavier Woods United States champion. None of it's
not hard for me to see him as U.S. champion. I'm sorry, it's not hard for me to see him as U.S. champion. I think he'd be a great U.S. champion.
Yeah. Well, fair enough.
The U.S. title is one of my favorite titles of all time. I love the U.S. title.
Yeah. That's just because you're a nationalist.
No, one is because of the design. The new design is great. I like the old design too, but the new design is phenomenal. But also because of the prestige that the title has on it.
Yeah, no, it's a good championship, man. I don't know. I think I probably, maybe been a little bit more partial to the Intercontinental Championship over the years.
The Intercontinental title is more prestigious, but just the U.S. title just feels right to me.
Yeah. Well, so you caught Deadline? Do you watch all that?
I did catch Deadline. We had the NXT Women's Iron Survivor match to start off the night, I believe, which was a match that not much happened actually in that match. It was just a rivalry starting to brew back, and then swooping in minor star becoming a major star to prove someone wrong.
Yeah.
Roxanne Perosa winning the Iron Survivor match, which is a cool concept. I don't see it as a main match.
Yeah, it's I don't know, man. I think anybody that was paying attention, both to Roxanne prior to NXT, Roxy, and anyone that pays attention to kind of the rumor mill and the dirt sheet stuff, it's that I think that was a foregone conclusion that she was going to be the victor there. Seems that WWE is pretty big on her and going to be, strapping a rocket to her back. Understandably so, because she's great. So.
Yeah. And then we had, I think we only had 4 matches that night.
Yeah, you had the other men's, the Iron Survivor match with them.
No, we had 5. Okay. So we had that one, then we had the tag team match.
Right. And how would you rank that tag team match?
I felt the tag team match was actually one of the top matches of the night.
Yeah. So that's what I'm hearing, man. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
The way they did the match and the outcome was really good. The putting the towels on Kofi and Xavier are really good, and hopefully, you know, they'll bring in a new challenger to hold the title that isn't Pretty Deadly, because I'm pretty tired of Pretty Deadly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the match was great. There was a spot in the match where they were paying tribute to Eddie Guerrero in the funniest way.
So I did see that clip. That's actually the only clip that I've seen from the match. Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty good. It's like every member of both tag teams all kind of had the same idea of the referee's back is turned, and kind of pretending to hit themselves with the title. Yeah, so the ref thinks that one of the opponents actually clocked them with the title, and so it ended with all four of them on their backs in the middle of the ring when the ref turned around.
And he was like, wait a minute.
Right. Yeah.
Sees the title, all four of them now. He's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, that seemed like a pretty fun spot.
Yeah, so that match I rate as one of the top matches of the night. I think the match after that was the men's Iron Survivor. It could have been. No, it was Alba Fire versus
Isla Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not watch that match.
You probably should have. Might want to go back and catch that one. I haven't seen the match myself, but that's so the two most buzzworthy matches from the event that I've been seeing are the tag title match and the Isla Dawn match. Isla Dawn, I'm not familiar with Alba Fire. I can't really speak to her talent or abilities. I've only seen a tiny bit of her in NXT.
I was gonna say she was NXT UK Women's Champion.
Yeah, so I'm not as familiar with her. Isla Dawn, I'm a bit more familiar with from her time prior to NXT. So I was already a fan when she came into the company. The stuff that I've seen since she's been in NXT has been pretty good. She's seems to be a pretty solid performer still in NXT. The gimmick is, I don't know, a bit kind of played out to me. She's a witch. So, with the House of Black stuff and, the Undertaker stuff and Sue Young stuff, it just, it is what it is. So nothing terribly special, to me there in that regard. But she's a good promo. She can talk. She seems to be good in that role, that witchy kind of sinister character. But her performances so far, from what I've seen, have been pretty good, man. She's been putting on some good matches. So that's one of the ones that I'm actually looking forward to probably the most.
Yeah. I'll go back and look at it later.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't actually watched it yet, so I mean, it might be a stinky turd, but I don't know. I have high hopes for it, and I've seen a little bit of buzz online about that match.
So the men's Iron Survivor match, that was pretty good. Again, the match concept I get, but I also don't see much more of it in the future. It's very confusing. It's like an Iron Man match, but Elimination Chamber, and then at the very end, like a I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit convoluted. When I first came across that, I had to actually read the rules maybe 2 or 3 times before I felt like I really grasped and understood what they were. So yeah, I don't know if that'll stick around or not. But yeah, I guess who came out on top there? Was it a good match? Who all was involved?
So we had, to start off the match, we had Axiom and JD McDonough to start the match off.
Okay.
So the match was already good. The match was already good for you because Axiom's in it, and it was really good.
Well, and Axiom and JD McDonough met up a couple of weeks back, and that was a really good match. So the two of them alone, you're off to a pretty great start. Now, I don't know if the introduction, or the inclusion of the other guys brings that match down, or
not really.
improves.
So we had Joe Gacy as well,
Okay.
the leader of the Schism.
And I've yet to see him wrestle. I haven't seen a single match.
It's okay.
So I hear a lot of comparison to Bray Wyatt.
He's athletic for a fat guy.
Yeah. Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens are probably the two that he gets compared to the most, from what I see.
Because he's very flexible and kind of like really high flyer-ish for a big guy. And he's not that big. He's Kevin Owens' size, sort of, like belly size. But he also has that face and like gimmick that Bray Wyatt did.
Right. Yeah, I get comparisons, to Bray Wyatt in terms of gimmick and promo and character, and then comparisons to Kevin Owens in terms of ring work.
Yeah, as you should. That's kind of accurate.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what else do we have? We had Grayson Waller come in fourth, I believe. He's either third or fourth. And then we had Carmelo Hayes come in last.
Okay. And
there's also like a penalty box that they put in. Like, I don't know the full rules of the penalty box.
Yeah, that's probably one of the weirdest aspects of it. Probably the aspect of the match that throws me off the most.
It's a weird concept. Again, I don't see this match being used in the future much. But I think the results were Axiom had 2 pinfall or 2 points. Joe Gacy had 2 points. Carmelo Hayes had 1 point. JD McDonough had 0 points at the end of it. And the winner with 3 points was Grayson Waller.
Cool.
So Grayson Waller ended up winning the Iron Survivor match, drank something out of a wrestling boot. And we went on to the championship match, the main event.
Okay, which was Apollo Crews and Braun Breaker.
Mm-hmm. And that was not a very great match.
The promos and the stuff that the vignettes and stuff that they've done to kind of build to that match, very, very weird, man. Very weird. I think the last one on this week's episode was Braun Breaker and Apollo Crews on a boat fishing together. The week before that, it was them sitting at a diner, having like lunch and coffee together or something. It's really
that they had respect for each other and that they could be pals, they could be friends in the future after this.
Yeah, like some friendly competition. I didn't really like it though. It was weird. Felt weird. Felt like I was watching some weird reality television show. It didn't work for me, man.
Breaker and Cruz.
Yeah, and it really, I don't know, it really kind of drug both of those guys down a little bit for me. In terms of my view of them, my enjoyment of them, not to say that I dislike them because of those vignettes or anything like that. It just wasn't getting me excited for the match. It was just throwing me off.
Yeah.
So rather than building me up for this main event match, they were kind of almost just making me completely uninterested in it.
Yeah.
So it's weird way to try to build a main event.
Yeah, and it ended up with Braun Breaker coming out on top, which I don't really like. I would have liked it if Apollo Crews would have come out on top, and then Apollo Crews being the champion would face Grayson Waller, and then Apollo telling Waller, "You see what I did when I came back."
Yeah.
because Apollo's first rival was Grayson Waller.
Yeah. I mean, I think that probably would have been a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, already showing the chemistry, it would have been good. And then, I'm all for new type of champions, so that would have been great. Braun Breaker, I think I told you before, doesn't need the title on him. Doesn't really need to be. He can be in the title picture. He just doesn't need to win it, or he needs to build himself up as a bigger competitor for the title.
Right.
And put it on someone that's already established himself as championship material.
Yeah.
But I think the next move is to take the title off of Breaker, either at WrestleMania season, like the NXT live before WrestleMania, or even at WrestleMania. Who knows? Maybe the Royal Rumble winner will challenge Braun Breaker for the title. We don't know what's going to happen at the Royal Rumble. Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all my rant about NXT.
Cool. So yeah, no Impact this week for me. Didn't get around to it, so not sure what's happening over there.
Me neither. I didn't really watch Impact either.
Yeah, I'm normally down for that every week too, and I will watch probably tonight or tomorrow. I just didn't had a busy week and didn't get around to it. So AEW, pretty good week, and I guess we can kind of include Ring of Honor in the AEW talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess we can.
Trying to remember, I didn't really take notes on Dynamite like I normally do. So my thoughts are a bit scattered. The only thing that really jumps out to me from AEW, I guess, Rampage, Trent Seven. Yeah, made his debut.
Yeah.
And the roster grows, man, even larger.
That was kind of a shock for me. I was like, wow, Trent Seven? Really? It was a shock, but it wasn't a good shock. It was like, maybe he should stay with WWE.
Yeah, I don't know what his status was there. I don't know if they let him go, if he wanted to.
They never announced it, I don't think.
Yeah. And it was my first time seeing Trent Seven in probably a few years, because I'd kind of tuned out of WWE for a while. He looks significantly older to me. Like time is not being kind to him. Just kind of look like an old man.
He looks a lot bigger, and just the long hair and the bigger beard.
Yeah, he looks like he's graying.
He is.
And I don't think he was ever, in like peak physical condition. He wasn't like a, Lex Luger in his prime, nice hard body. But his physique looks like it's probably gone downhill a hair too since the last time I saw him.
Probably has, yeah. But
yeah,
he's challenged Orange Cassidy for the All Atlantic Championship, so.
Yeah, so
they're not going to put the title on him, but he's challenging.
Right. I didn't watch that. Match. I just saw the news of him debuting and accepting that challenge. I assumed that it was gonna, end with Cassidy coming out on top. But yeah, I guess Dynamite. There was a pretty interesting exchange between Ricky Starks and MJF. That was really good. It's really, really good when you get two guys going head to head, face to face, who are that good on the mic and at promos, at the jabs and the insults. Man, it was a really entertaining back and forth that they had there.
Yeah, it was good. I like seeing both of those guys, either as rivals or even if they just coming across or doing their own thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good first rivalry for the champ, MJF.
Yeah. I had him taking shots at Ricky Starks for working for Billy Corgan in the NWA. Stealing his entire gimmick from The Rock. So he said he was going to call him, from now on, he's going to refer to Ricky Starks as the Pebble. Called him like a dollar store version of The Rock or an off-brand version of The Rock or something like that, which is fair,
Yeah.
The comparison is pretty accurate, and it's something that people have been saying for years now. But Ricky Starks managed to give it right back to MJF pretty well. So he held his own on the mic. Yes, and as far as guys who are really, really good on the mic, I think it goes without saying MJF is one of the best. I think Ricky Starks deserves to be in that conversation too. Eli Drake or LA Knight, as he's referred to now, definitely one of the best as well. Yeah, that was pretty good. I don't really recall much else about Dynamite for real.
Well, let's see. We had Samoa Joe face Darby Allin.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah, that was an okay match.
Darby Allin just needs to stop getting squashed.
Well, Darby Allin really needs to work smarter, man. I know he's kind of developed this daredevil stuntman, I don't know, gung-ho kind of persona, but the kid works really, really dangerous, man. Like that spot, that spot that he took from Samoa Joe on the skateboard was brutal. And I've been saying for a while, man, Darby's he's gonna end up hurting himself pretty seriously. And if he doesn't, all of these stunts that he's pulling, kid's gonna have a really short career, man. He's gonna retire young.
Yeah, it's questionable. But it's his character. He's having the creativity of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt very much that he would be in the spot that he's in otherwise. I mean, I think that's what got him to where he's at. That's his appeal. That's his shtick. That's why he's there. And good for him, man, because he's, Darby's somebody that I've watched for years on the indie circuit before going to AEW, and I was quite surprised when AEW signed him. Not because he's not talented or anything like that. He is. I just with his style and him being as I guess as much of a stuntman as he is, I had a hard time really envisioning him going to a big company like that.
Right.
He seems like kind of a liability. But good for him, man, because he's over in the company. They treat him well. He's got a bunch of fans. He's making big money now. So like I said, I think he's going to end up hurting himself, or he's going to end up having a really short career. So hopefully he's taking some of that big money and investing it well, and burying it in some coffins, somewhere, planning for his retirement.
Yeah, and I don't remember much else from Dark. Oh yeah, well we'll get to that in a bit. It's going to talk about the Blackpool Combat Club, but we'll get that into a bit.
Yeah. I now that you mention, see, it's all coming back to me. I remember the Blackpool stuff.
Yeah, Regal and yeah.
Yeah, they had that weird, Tony Schiavone has a video interview that he filmed several weeks ago with William Regal explaining why he did what he did. And it I don't know, the explanation I guess could make sense in a way. Bit of a disappointment or a letdown for me because it really didn't make a whole lot of sense. Ultimately, just seemed like kind of like reverse engineering. Like they knew they came up with the finish or the end first, and then tried to come up with the explanation. Like, okay, how do we explain how we got to, point C?
It's like it's like the end of your story, but you gotta write how you get to there.
Yeah, and that seems to be like what they did, and I think they probably could have done a better job, maybe of detailing the journey. So
because that's the same problem I have. Whenever I think of a story, I know the beginning, and I know the ending I want. I just got to come up with all the rest of it.
Well, I think oftentimes in storytelling, that is ultimately how it works. For a lot of people, when they sit down and write something, I think a lot of shows, movies, books are probably, you have the initial idea of where you're starting and where you're going, and then you've just got to fill in the blanks. I think some do that better than others, and this one fell a little bit short for me. But it is what it is, man. It's wrestling, so can't take it too seriously.
Yeah, I mean, who takes wrestling seriously?
Right. So sometimes it's hard to remember things like Matt Hardy teleporting all over the world to different dimensions and facing the Bucks of Youth in Ring of Honor and going here and going there, and a lot of the storyline stuff. I mean, we did see on Impact a week ago, they killed a guy.
Yeah. Killed a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But AEW news aside, SmackDown on WWE as well. Not much going on there either. There wasn't much going on this week there either, except for maybe a LA Knight Bray Wyatt promo.
I saw the little I guess LA Knight finding a Bray Wyatt shirt hanging in his locker room, and then lights went out, and somebody wearing the creepy mask that we've seen in some of the Bray promos, popped up, and then that was it. It's not really much of an explanation at all as to what's going on there.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
We
had the Usos and the Bloodline with Sami Zayn. Hopefully, apparently, either Monday or Friday, we're supposed to get Sami Zayn with an all-new look.
Yeah.
Like a haircut or a trim or something.
How did they kind of set that up?
I forget. It was like a whole promo about them winning that night against Sheamus and Butch, and them doing a whole celebration with them, or even maybe Roman Reigns next week, and Jey Uso confronting Sammy, telling him he might need to spruce up a little bit, get a new haircut, look nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you get the rest of the Bloodline looking all fly and stuff, and Sammy looking like a hobo.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the hobo look for Sammy.
It works for him.
It's like the guy that doesn't fit in.
Yeah, so I'm watching Final Battle right now.
Yeah. Yes, Ring of Honor Final Battle.
Yep. I watched a little bit of it earlier today. Definitely haven't seen the whole thing.
But you did see the main event.
Say that again.
You did see the main event.
I didn't see the main event. I saw the finish for the main event.
You know how stupid that was.
Yeah, not a fan of that. The finish was so bad that I might end up just skipping that match entirely.
You might want to turn that Chris Jericho poster around.
Yeah, old Chris. What are you thinking, man? What are you thinking?
Okay, so if no one else knows what we're referring to, Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Title.
Yep.
Claudio ends up winning,
I don't have a problem with that. You know, I'm a big fan of Claudio Castagnoli. So that's not really the issue that I have. It's the way that they pulled the finish.
You know, Claudio as Cesaro or anything, he's tapped out many guys before, but he did it with the sharpshooter.
Yeah, and I would have liked to have seen. I mean, that would have made some sense, you know.
Yeah, or even putting Jericho in his own walls or a lion tamer.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that probably would have been the best way to do it. Have Claudio beat Chris Jericho with his own finisher, and especially having him tap out. You know, if you get Chris Jericho to tap out in the lion tamer, that's pretty awesome. You know, and it's also quite embarrassing for Chris. You know,
because Chris Jericho tapped out to the swing.
The big swing. Yep. And I think, what was it? Maybe 13, 15, 18 rotations, something like that.
Maybe 15 to 20.
Yeah. Less than 20 for sure. And the fact that anyone would tap out to that is ridiculous. I mean, has Chris Jericho ever been on a roller coaster? Has he ever ridden the carousel at Christmas time? You know
what? Chris Jericho's getting old.
Yeah, I mean, but he's been holding up pretty well for his age, man. He's we were just talking recently about this being one of his best years, if not his best year of his career. He had a good run there with the Ring of Honor title, put on some good matches, and like I said, yeah, just spinning around in circles. That's enough to get Chris Jericho to tap out. Apparently, it's shameful.
Yeah. So you had that Final Battle, and then you had, I think the first match of Final Battle was Jeff Cobb versus, I forget what his name is now.
Mascara Dorada.
Yeah, Mascara Dorada.
That's Grand Metalik for those who don't know.
Yeah. For the WWE marks.
Yep. Yeah, and Grand Metalik's awesome. I didn't watch that match. I think that match was actually on the pre-show. I don't think that was the first match on Final Battle.
Maybe the first match was like Rush and.
It was Rush and I'm drawing a blank on his brother's name. So yeah, that was his brother, and I believe that was his brother's debut.
Yeah. So that was Rush and his team versus AR Fox and I forget what the other guy's name is.
Blake Christian, who is a former WWE guy. If you weren't aware of that.
Was it Blake and Murphy?
No, he had a different name in WWE. I'm drawing a blank on that too, but yeah. So Blake Christian and AR Fox versus Rush and Jalistico. So Dralistico is Rush's brother, who used to be Dragon Lee. So the current Dragon Lee is not the first person to have that moniker. It's actually their younger brother. So Dralistico, Rush, and Dragon Lee are all brothers. Yes. So Dralistico, the original Dragon Lee, became Dralistico, and the younger brother took up the mantle of Dragon Lee. If my understanding, of all of that is correct. So anybody that's out there, that knows about that or has the energy and time to do some internet sleuthing, let me know if that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case. Blake Christian was Trey Baxter in NXT, or WWE NXT. I'm not sure where he was at there. I don't think he ever really did much with the company. I don't think he was there for very long.
Yeah, it looks like he faced Joe Gacy in an NXT breakout tournament.
Sure. Debuted against Kushida in NXT. That was June 15th of 2021. So obviously he wasn't there for very long. I thought he looked familiar, but I wasn't sure who he was. I had to look him up.
Yep, it looks like Trey Baxter faced Ridge Holland at TakeOver 35. Joe Gacy in the NXT Breakout Tournament had some stuff going on with Cora Jade when he was in WWE. Did some stuff with NXT Live and 205 Live. NXT Level Up, my bad, and 205 Live. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, so that match was really AR Fox, Blake Christian, Dralistico, Rush. That was a good match. I enjoyed that. I guess did you get to watch all of Final Battle?
I didn't. I watched a few things.
Yeah. So the second match was Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's title against Mercedes Martinez, I guess is her name. That was a decent match. wasn't bad. Wasn't great, but it was decent. Athena came out on top there, so she's the new Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Questionable attire, more so I guess makeup choice. She wore some like half glitter on her face with like an eyeball painted on her forehead. Just looked kind of silly, kind of weird. But the match itself was decent. There were some cool spots. The third match was Swerve in Our Glory and Shane Taylor Promotions. Not familiar with Shane Taylor Promotions. Didn't even bother to look them up, so don't really know who those guys are. Not a big fan of Swerve in Our Glory. I sat through that match, but it was totally passable. I could have skipped it. Guess the only really thing of note there is it looks like Swerve in Our Glory are done. You had Shane Strickland walk out on Keith Lee.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Finally, it's over. They can focus on singles runs or even a rivalry with each other. Just be done with the tag team thing.
Yeah, it's wasn't working for me, which I'm not a huge fan of those guys, independently anyway.
I liked Keith Lee. I liked him in the NXT run.
He's not bad, but he's fat, so.
But he's fast fat and he's athletic fat.
Yeah, he's gone a bit downhill to me, since leaving NXT and even
Man can do a damn good moonsault in NXT.
Yeah, for a big man. Yeah. but I don't know. AEW Keith Lee has not really lived up to the previous version of himself. He's impressive for a big man, and I joke about the he's fat stuff.
We all, I think we both joke about that.
Yeah. I mean, don't take that too seriously. But yeah, Swerve. I think I'm probably a bigger fan of independently. The name was kind of stupid to me too. Like, you've got Swerve Strickland, and Keith Lee he says "bask in my glory," so let's just combine the two and call them Swerve in our glory. And I don't know, just kind of dumb.
Right.
No, but yeah, like you said, glad to see that that's over, and hopefully they can move on to something else that's a bit more entertaining. So the match itself didn't really do anything for me. So
I just want to point out something from SmackDown. I'm looking at the WWE website, right, and I'm looking through the SmackDown stuff. I get into the LA Knight and Bray Wyatt stuff, and I get to the video. The title of the video, and I quote, on the WWE website, is LA Knight got yeeted backstage. I'm not joking.
Well, yeah, because that totally, that language both fits LA Knight and Bray Wyatt, and WWE as a company. Like, that's I associate that type of language with all of those. Yeah.
That's who are the writers for the website?
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever it is needs to get yeeted. I don't even really know what that means, man. I guess I'm exposing my
thrown or launched.
Yeah.
Or taken.
Okay. Did you just look that up?
No. You stay around a lot of Gen Z, Gen Z slang.
I was about to say we're both exposing our age. Me for not understanding the lingo, and you for knowing exactly what it means.
I know exactly what it is, and I bash it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I had to explain to my wife recently what the bussin' FR.
Okay, I use that.
No cap, all of that. I had to explain all of that to her fairly recently, and she was like, "How in the world do you know that?"
I was with my girlfriend the other day, and I got McDonald's, and of course I went to McDonald's with her. We got ourselves something to eat, and for drink I got a Sprite, and that McDonald's Sprite.
I don't.
There's just something different about that Sprite, and as I take a sip of it, and it just hits me. I'm like, man, it's busting. And she says, that is some of the whitest shit I ever
heard. Oh, censors are going to get us on that. Yeah, I don't eat McDonald's, man. That's bad. That's bad. Bad Bubba Brogdon.
Well, she wanted some cookies, and McDonald's was there. She said, just buy me some cookies, you can get yourself some dinner.
Is that what she sounds like? That's your
No.
impression?
No, she doesn't. I can't do it.
You did a little voice there, so I didn't know if that was
No, that's just me making a little bit of fun of her. But no, that's not her voice. I can't do her voice.
Well, yeah, I guess we've also kind of dispelled some of the myths about wrestling fans. You have a girlfriend and I have a wife, so we're miraculously, not complete losers.
Yeah.
I guess not completely.
Not complete losers.
Right.
We still watch wrestling.
Yep. And sit around and talk about it for 2 hours every Sunday night.
I know, right?
Yeah. So match, after that, probably my favorite so far. I haven't seen the whole show. I have a feeling there's probably a match coming up that's going to trump this one for me. But um, Dalton Castle and the boys versus the Embassy.
That was good.
Yes, really good match. We just had this conversation recently about Dalton Castle.
And how you like him? I didn't know who he is. I still don't know who he is. I haven't looked him up yet.
Yeah, well, did you watch that match?
I watched the match. It was good, and the tag team partners for Dalton Castle, they're good. I'm too much of a fan of Brian Cage not to cheer Brian Cage.
Oh no, you're perfectly, perfectly good in that aspect, man. I'm not super familiar with the other two guys in the Embassy, though I like what I've seen. But yeah, I mean, to me, like, really some of the best matches and some of the best, most enjoyable stuff for me is when you really can cheer for either side, and just hope to see a good match. And that's what I got out of this match. I really didn't care who won. I was perfectly happy to see either side win. So great match. Another thing that I really enjoyed. I'm about to maybe. I know I'm probably going to take some people to school here. Might even take you to school here a little bit. But that's part of the reason we're here. So, yeah, Brian Cage. Do you know who trained him? Who got him into the business? Who brought him into wrestling?
The way his physique is, and the way he wrestles, and the way he does his stuff, I'm gonna have to go on a limb and say it's probably Scott Steiner.
No, not at all. It is a WCW guy. It's somebody that you probably would never guess. Did you pay much attention to Brian Cage's attire when he wrestled on Final Battle?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, well, that's the giveaway. So, how familiar? And we've talked about him before on the show. But how familiar are you with Chris Kanyon?
Not very.
Okay. Well, back in the late '90s, WCW, you had a guy named Glacier, who was doing kind of a Sub-Zero Mortal Kombat type gimmick, and they brought in a guy named Mortis, who was very, he wore a skull mask, wore green. Green was his color. But he had that kind of video game character, comic book character kind of look and gimmick as well. That was Chris Kanyon. You might recall I mentioned him a little while back. We were talking about him trying to join.
I've seen a lot of. I didn't know that this was Chris Kanyon. You talked about the green attire and the skull, and I was like, I feel like I've seen that before. I've seen that before.
He tried to join Raven's flock in WCW, and Raven kind of put him through a series of tests and kind of made it seem like he was gonna bring him in, and then he ultimately rejected him, which led to him, becoming just Chris Kanyon, dropping the whole Mortis gimmick.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mortis was an awesome character. Chris Kanyon was a great wrestler. He's known as the innovator of offense. His Mortis attire being the green with the skulls. He had a skull on his, kind of belt buckle area. He had had skulls on his knee pads.
Very He-Man like.
Yeah, I can see that.
Skeletor and Shao Kahn came together.
Yeah, that's a good. I guess if you took Skeletor, Shao Kahn, and Reptile from Mortal Kombat and combined the three of them, you'd probably end up with something that looked like Mortis.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian Cage actually got into wrestling at the suggestion of Chris Kanyon. Chris Kanyon trained him up. When Brian Cage got into wrestling, he actually wrestled as Mortis. So yeah, look that up. At some point, you'll see Brian Cage wearing the skull mask. So his attire for Final Battle, he came to the ring wearing a cape and the skull mask, which was a tribute to Canyon and the Mortis character. He wrestled in the match, obviously without the skull mask and the cape, but his attire has the skull on the
belt.
Yeah, the belt area, the back of the trunks, the knee pads. It's green and black. So that was his little tribute to Mortis and Chris Canyon, which I thought was pretty awesome. Man, I was pretty stoked to see him do that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Brian Cage's work. I was a big fan of him. Again, in a lot of these guys I've seen that weren't WWE, I saw them in Lucha Underground. Brian Cage, my dad would see me all the time watching Brian Cage and like, I'm a machine. That stuff was just
Yep. The
awesome.
Swolverine.
It's the Swolverine.
Yeah. Yeah, my introduction to Brian Cage likewise was Lucha Underground. And the guy is really, really good, man. He's really, really impressive. Again, for somebody that's his size with his physique, that can move the way that he does in the ring. Some of the moves, that I've seen him pull off are first time and only time for me. It's like I've never seen anybody do that but Brian Cage. And I mentioned a minute ago, Chris Canyon being known as the innovator of offense. I think Brian Cage, would be worthy of that same moniker. So yeah, good on you, Brian Cage, for paying tribute to the man. And yeah, putting on a great match, because that trios match was great. And the Embassy came out on top. They won the Ring of Honor Trios Championship from Dalton Castle and the boys. And as much as I love, Dalton Castle and the boys, good for Brian Cage and the Embassy, man. Especially, I think, on that night with him, kind of paying tribute to Chris Canyon. Good night to win some gold.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it for news. Oh wait, there was one more thing. Kurt Angle's birthday celebration was the Friday of SmackDown.
Yeah.
And we had a little interaction between him and his son, Jason Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Jason Jordan giving him a little crappy kids drawing, number one dad, them hugging out.
Yeah, it's and Jason Jordan is no longer active roster, right?
He's like an executive producer.
Yeah, he's just doing production. That's interesting, because he's still pretty young. I mean, was there an injury that took him out? And
yes, Royal Rumble 2018, I want to say, when he had a tag team match with Seth Rollins against The Bar.
Yeah.
I remember the exact night. Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins were the champions. The Bar were the challengers. Early on in the match, Jason Jordan injured his neck and tagged Seth Rollins being out. Jason Jordan could not make it back onto the ring side. Had to stay on the steps until paramedics took him away, and it was Seth Rollins versus The Bar for the rest of the night. Jason Jordan had suffered an injury to the neck and upper spine, and has an early retirement.
Really? So I missed that. I knew that he was in a production role now, and pretty much, on the shelf and just working backstage. But I didn't know it was a full-on retirement, and I didn't know. I mean, I assumed that it was from an injury, but I didn't know. Was that just kind of a freak accident? Was it?
That was a pure freak accident. That was the Royal Rumble where Ronda Rousey debuted, Shinsuke Nakamura won, Sheamus got eliminated in 2 seconds by Heath Slater. I remember that night. That night was like, I can still remember that night.
Okay. And I mean that some of those key moments that you just mentioned there seem familiar to me. So I think I actually watched that Rumble, and I probably completely missed that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's bad what happened to Jason Jordan.
Yeah, because he's still pretty young, man.
And I believe it was Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, the American Alphas, that beat the Usos for the SmackDown Tag Team titles and made the Usos go from face painting yeehaw to the more the Uso Penitentiary serious look.
Yeah, and Jordan and Gable were a great tag team, man. I got to see them live in NXT, and that was definitely one of the highlights of the night for me. They were a great team. They had good chemistry together.
Yeah. But we also had Gable Stevenson show up on the show with Kurt Angle.
Who was that?
The Olympic gold medalist of 2021 for wrestling that represented the United States.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. I don't pay the
He had
Olympics.
signed with WWE while he was still in college, and now he's graduated. He is now transitioning over to WWE and the Performance Center. I think his brother is Damon Kemp on the NXT.
Okay.
I
Well,
could
that's
be
cool.
wrong.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
Yeah. I wasn't familiar with the guy, but that's cool. Hopefully he transitions well. I'm sure he will.
You see a lot of guys like that go from wrestling like I did, or all that, like wrestling that I did in high school, or wrestling they do in college or in the Olympics, and transition well to the WWE and just learn mic skills and learn how to talk, learn how to do these flips. They're already good at grappling and have the endurance.
Yeah. So when are you chipping off to wrestling school, man?
Whenever I'm financially stable and I'm just done here in Opelika.
I mean, Atlanta's an hour and a half away, man. There's a good school there. So
I think I got my eyes set on another school though. So
yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, if I were younger,
I just gotta get a little bit more in shape and get more financially stable, and so I can go off and do all that. And I want to get done with school first.
yeah, you still got a little schooling to get out of the way.
Yeah, gotta get some of that college.
Yeah.
You know, you can always get injured and that stuff and have to retire early, like some others.
Yeah.
It's good to have a fallback plan.
Yeah, you gotta have a fallback, man, for sure. So this podcast certainly isn't gonna pay the bills.
No, neither is my YouTube channel on the regular or my streams on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you can get you an OnlyFans.
My girlfriend doesn't even want me to take my shirt off.
You could just do like feet stuff.
Let's not even get into that conversation. We've got off topic before. We don't need to get that off topic.
I'm sure there's a market for it. Hey, I would do it in a heartbeat, man. I've got no shame. Like if anybody's interested in like my feet pics or
you're going to get us monetized. Don't do that. We're done with the news. That's all we have for news.
Yeah, thanks. Good night. End of the show. We're gonna.
But into all seriousness, I had a topic planned for today.
Cool.
You know, just to go through on what's going on throughout the week. So you sent me something earlier that goes in through this. Something happened on AEW Dynamite that goes through all this. Just different reports and things that have happened for the past month or two. Professional wrestling and companies. it's like a chess game. They have to strategically move their pieces to come out on top. And wrestlers are those pieces.
Right.
The feuds they put them in, and the characters and the storylines they put them in.
Yeah.
And so I think right now, with WWE re-signing and signing different stars, they are making huge risk and jumps, expanding the roster a little bit more, and honestly, it's paying off really well for them.
Some, I mean, some of the companies are benefiting more than others. Some of the wrestlers are benefiting more than others. So it's an interesting, kind of parallel or analogy to compare to chess, because you do, the wrestlers being the pieces, you have your pawns, your more, I guess, low level,
Jobbers.
Your talent that
Your
doesn't really have, it doesn't have as much clout or pull or, and then you have your just all the way up, to your big talent, your Stings and your Daniel Bryans and CM Punks and people like that, who've got a lot more kind of, I guess, bargaining power,
Yeah. One of those big things is that I found out earlier that there's a report going around, Sasha Banks.
Right.
She is apparently done with WWE and will be signing with New Japan, allegedly.
Yeah, and I've the wording on the, I don't know anything. I haven't really dug into that. So I don't know anything official. I don't know what the official, but I've seen various reports, and some of the wording gets kind of vague with this particular report. I have seen, that she's only appearing at New Japan. Like, she's not necessarily going to be under contract or even wrestle a match. It's like I said, some of the phrasing and the wording for these reports is a little loosey-goosey, man, and leaves a lot to be kind of up to your own interpretation of what's going to happen there. I've seen speculation that she is going to be signing and she's going to be wrestling a match at Wrestle Kingdom. I've seen that she's just going to be, maybe sitting in the audience, So I don't know. Maybe you have some more insight, into that, or more detail.
Not much. That's all I have. That's all I have on it. Is that?
Well, like I said, I've seen the whole range, man. She's going to be wrestling a match, or she's just going to be, in attendance, getting paid versus just being there. Obviously, the implications are very different depending on what scenario we end up seeing. If she ends up just being in attendance there with no, working role, then whatever, it's cool, but it doesn't mean anything. If she wrestles a match, like I said, that changes things a bit. Is Sasha Banks going to be a full-time New Japan roster member? No, I don't think that is what's going to happen. It would likely be a short-term contract for a handful of matches, and then just kind of play it by ear and see where to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sasha Banks is not moving to Japan and going to wrestle exclusively for New Japan. I think that's pretty far-fetched. But with New Japan having the working relationship that they have with other companies such as Impact and AEW, there's a lot of rumor about Sasha Banks going to AEW, which this, the New Japan, I guess, news could play into that. So,
right. I also wanted to talk about the whole. Remember, we talked about this in one of the previous episodes about the whole Wyatt Six and Bray Wyatt returning, and just remind me, what were the two guys' names that we had named off?
Are you referring to Dutch and Vincent?
Right, Dutch and Vincent. So there was a picture I found from NXT,
Yeah.
NXT's event, the Christmas event, with all that going on. I see. There's a picture. I can't show it, but it looks like Vincent and Dutch are sitting in the back row of the event, watching the NXT. They are there live at the event.
Yeah, and reports, that I've seen is that they had tryouts around that time. Both of those guys. I haven't seen any confirmation of them being, new signees or on board or anything like that. But I think they were, my understanding is they were there for tryouts. And so they did pop up on, I guess, last week's episode, just kind of sitting in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. I don't know a whole lot about Dutch. I'm a lot more familiar with Vincent, and he's good. I think he could be a good fit for NXT, WWE, possibly even an affiliation with Bray Wyatt. I think he's got a good look to kind of fit right in there.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there was that. There was William Regal being written off of AEW TV, and speculations he's coming to WWE again.
Right.
So, WWE making major moves, and then you sent me a little earlier today about.
Yeah. One of the, I guess, the fresh new rumor that seems to be going around is that FTR are on their way out of AEW, out of pretty much all the promotions, Ring of Honor, AAA, New Japan, all the promotions they've been working with, and headed back to WWE. Don't know, how much truth there is to that, but seem to be coming from a source close to, I guess, WWE, saying that that's pretty much a done deal. Like that's all they got to do is really put pen to paper, and that's going to happen. So
we can expect them by April. We can expect by WrestleMania season or post WrestleMania.
Yeah, and part of that rumor is that we're about to see FTR begin to slowly, they hold like 3 different tag titles at the moment from 3 different major promotions. And we're going to start to gradually see them drop those titles.
They just dropped the Ring of Honor tag team titles with the Briscoes.
I was about to say, and then that, that rumor that I saw there popped up before Final Battle. So, we had the Briscoes take the Ring of Honor titles back off of FTR at Final Battle. So that seems to confirm to some degree the rumor there. So that's one championship down. Now we've got a couple more to go, and they'll be free up to head back, I guess, home. And with as much as I guess what is it? Harwood and Wheeler. Those are these guys' names.
Yeah, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler.
Yeah. I don't know much about Wheeler, but Harwood seems to run his mouth quite a bit. Yeah, I've seen a lot of complaining from him on kind of how AEW has treated them, where their standing in the company is, the amount of TV time that they get, which all seems a bit odd to me because I feel like AEW has treated FTR pretty great. The lack of TV time or whatever that gripe is also seems kind of weird because AEW's attempting to operate on a little bit of a lighter schedule for these guys. That's part of the, I guess, appeal, from a wrestling standpoint, is that you're not having to work 350 days a year. You're getting some time off.
the hype for FTR versus the Young Bucks. Remember that first happened in 2020.
Yeah.
The hype for that match
Well, no,
died down once it was a
I,
done deal.
yeah, and I was about to get to that. I think that's probably, where some of the friction is stemming from, because with the Young Bucks being in that EVP role, they work behind the scenes with AEW. They have to do, with the booking, they have some pull, some clout. I have seen rumor that they can't really come to terms. You've got too much ego on both sides to really see, FTR versus Young Bucks and have things go down in a way that make both sides happy. And so it seems to be that some of FTR's frustration with AEW, with the company, with how they've been treated, with how they handle things, seem to tie a little bit more into the Young Bucks being in that role.
Yeah.
So.
Wild. Because you said they treated him well. I was like, not really.
Well, I mean, up against the Young Bucks, I mean, that's debatable. Sure, that maybe not so much. But in terms of how FTR has been handled in AEW outside of their relationship to the Young Bucks, I mean, they seem to. I mean, they get tons of new merch all the time. They're over. They get TV time. I mean, they've. I don't know exactly what their win-loss record is. I'd be curious to see that. But I can't imagine that it's a bad win-loss record.
FTR's win-loss record or Young Bucks win-loss record?
FTR.
I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, look it up.
Thankfully, the roster for AEW keeps the win-loss records and their stuff on here. So I just got to find one of them, and I'll have both of them. Cash Wheeler.
So I'm seeing. Yeah, I guess that's just Cash Wheeler.
I'm looking at 22 overall for Cash Wheeler, having an AEW only 4 tag team wins for 2022. And for tag team wins overall from debut to now, only 13 tag team wins.
Really? So that's, I mean, maybe I'm I guess a little incorrect in that. I would have assumed that the record would have been a little bit better.
And we also have Dax Harwood's, although it says he has 7 tag team wins for 2022. It also says he has 19 career wins. What I don't believe there was a time where Dax had more tag team matches with someone else than Cash Wheeler. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they both had singles matches, but I can't recall either one of them tagging with another partner.
I can't either.
Yeah.
Versus the Young Bucks, we have, let's see, Matt Jackson. Their 2022 overall tag team win would be 7. Their tag team would be 7 wins overall. That's
Young Bucks?
That's Young Bucks. That's Matt Jackson's Young Bucks. 7 tag team wins for 2022. Overall career, since AEW, we have, that can't be right. It only says 29. That's weird. And then for Nick Jackson, it says 30 overall. Maybe we're not booking tag teams very well. Weird.
Yeah, well, I guess, point being, I guess that FTR record probably isn't as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, no, FDR has barely got any TV time other than maybe AEW Dark.
Yeah.
Or on the YouTube channel. So
yeah, I mean, maybe my assessment there is a bit off, in terms of how well FDR has been treated.
Because I knew they weren't treated like fairly well. I remember their debut. The latest thing they did with AEW was the CM Punk stuff.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
I mean, do you honestly think that WWE would? I mean, that could go either way. I could see them going back to WWE and being treated like megastars and getting a big push, maybe initially, and then falling back down the card and becoming more of an afterthought.
I'd see them like climbing the tag team division, facing the Usos, having a good battle with the Usos and the Bloodline, taking a good battle to the Brawling Brutes, Butch and Holland.
Yeah.
Maybe even reignite that kind of rivalry with the Street Profits.
Yeah, I mean it could definitely lead to some good matches, and I think WWE would benefit from having them there, because they are. I mean, FTR is definitely one of the best tag teams in the world, in my opinion. So they were even great when they were in NXT and WWE before. It's not something where they floundered there and then found greatness outside of the company. They were great before they left.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason that they left. They were a little frustrated with how they were being treated there, but I guess that's my point. So far they have consistently had gripes with how they've been treated in both major promotions. So
John Stripling, from the guy that went with us last week, Figurehead Toys. If you haven't gone check him out, please go check him out. He says they were hot for a while, but then ended up being used to win every other belt in every other promotion besides AEW.
Yeah, and that's accurate.
Isn't their AEW title run not even a month long?
It's pretty brief. I would possibly argue though that the Ring of Honor tag titles, the AAA tag titles, the IWGP tag titles, were probably all more prominent titles than the AEW Tag Team Championship. The history, alone, I think makes it
held by many people. I mean, don't get me wrong. The belt design's cool. Hold on, I have a. Where is it? The belt design's cool.
Yeah,
this is like a kid's replica.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan of the title design for sure. AEW does pretty good belt designs, aside from this current MJF Triple B. That one's pretty bad, but I almost think that one's intentionally bad.
Yeah, that's the one where like, you know what, maybe someone should take it off of him so we'd get the old one back.
Right. But their belts look really good. But yeah, like I said, the AEW championship, hasn't been held by as many people. AEW as a company hasn't been around for as long, so all that's kind of a given. But like I said, if I'm tag team, in the business right now, and I'm walking around carrying the Ring of Honor, the AAA, and the IWGP tag titles, I don't know that I would care so much about the AEW championships. Of course, it would be nice, to add those to the collection, but I don't think I'd be too sore about it, and even if you encounter someone who thinks that the AEW tag titles are more prestigious than any of the individual, other tag titles, it's still quite the accomplishment to have all three of those belts at once, to pretty much dominate the tag division in New Japan, AAA, Ring of Honor, To me, that says a lot more about your abilities than if you're just walking around with the AEW titles.
Yeah.
And the schedule, I know FTR is we were kind of talking about AEW having the lighter schedule, but rather than take that time and sit at home, FTR is traveling all over the world, wrestling in New Japan and AAA and getting those other belts. I did see, I think, some talk about. I don't remember who had initiated the conversation, but I think there were some comments from Kurt Angle and The Undertaker about how they had a harder time wrestling when they were wrestling on a lighter schedule. Something about the time off from wrestling sort of, I don't know, allowed their bodies to kind of I don't know, get soft. But just talking about having those more sporadic matches being harder on you than when you were working 350 days a year. And I'm sure part of that has to do with age, but it kind of makes sense, if you're going and going and going and going and going, doesn't really allow for much time to even realize that you might be in pain. But when you're taking it was Gold Dust. That's the article I was reading because he's talking about retiring soon.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the lighter schedule at AEW being actually harder on his body than when he was wrestling for WWE and wrestling all the time.
And I get that too. When I wrestled in middle school and high school, I wrestled for 6 years. Nothing like WWE, but more like folk style and freestyle, and just wrestling them singlets and got the referee band go. And I get that. I would rather constantly wrestle than take a long break to let my body recuperate, even if it need to recuperate, because that just builds up ring rust and it just makes your body softer. And the same thing when going to the gym. You stay away from the gym for a long time. You come back. You try to do as much as you used to do. You try to go as hard as you used to. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And so I completely get that. I completely agree with what Angle and Taker and them are saying. And just more time in the ring is better if you want to make that career. You want to keep it going, keep that character going, keep it all up. Just more time in the ring, more time in the gym. Just don't give your body a rest. Maybe a day of a rest, but just you can't rest for too long, or if it's going to go soft, like they said.
So yeah, I mean, the AEW model of kind of giving these guys a little bit more time off, maybe only works if they're staying in the gym and staying active during that time off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or maybe even sparring, like doing sparring matches to keep up their ring ability.
Yep.
But yeah. So we have FTR. We got off topic a little bit, but about FTR and all them and how all these companies are making major moves.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you have Billy Corgan telling people not to watch the NWA.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how smart of a move that is. Maybe he's playing 4D chess and knows something we don't know. Yeah.
Like WWE doing what they're doing with the Bloodline. It's excellent work. it's a faction that's a heel faction that everyone loves.
Yep.
And what they're doing with Sammy in the mix, and then adding storylines to that, and then bringing in more characters, and then just making new storylines, just throwing away belts, and just giving explanations, dropping different things, changing gimmicks. Going back to what worked. Or just what everyone liked and would like to see. I mean,
yeah.
Cody Rhodes in WWE, that was a dream. That would have been like a dream, a whole thing. And it was during the Vince era still, but they made that happen.
Yeah. I mean, Cody made that happen. So yeah, I mean, this this chess game, as you put it, has been going on for quite a while. You go back to the Monday Night Wars, and all that. You go back earlier than that, even with old school NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, the moves that Vince was making to kind of at one time be a part of that, and then to decide that he wants to be bigger than that, and kind of doing some underhanded things to get out of that relationship and kind of take over and become the dominant force that he ended up becoming. And it's all chess moves, and I think if anybody was playing 4D chess, it was definitely Vince, back in that time. But yeah, in the modern era, that we're in, I think Cody, was probably one of the big, the big moves to happen first. I think FTR jumping ship, would be probably on par with that.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. I think either way, whether FTR stays in AEW or it legit goes back to WWE, you're going to see them probably bring in some big money. Either way, like those guys are.
I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Hardy followed.
Yeah, that's a hard one because I think Matt, rightfully so. Jeff is always going to be kind of a factor, he's Matt's always going to have Jeff in mind. I was actually reading an interview with him recently where he was saying that he wants his last match to be Matt and Jeff Hardy versus Edge and Christian. Now, if that match were to take place, a retirement match for, let's just say, Matt and Jeff, and possibly even Edge and Christian. I think Christian's probably the last to retire of those guys, but where would that match take place? Realistically, is that match going to take place in AEW? I don't think so.
What if that match was to happen? It'd be at a forbidden door.
You think so?
The forbidden door opens. Edge comes out to help Christian, or Edge comes with Christian to attack the Hardys, or just Edge comes out of nowhere with Christian, and they just go all this stuff with the Hardys, resembling the background, and you just have this match set up.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got, I guess technically Matt, or Jeff is still under the AEW umbrella there. You've got Matt and Christian active in AEW. So the final piece that you would need would be Edge, and that's why I'm kind of doubtful that match would take place in AEW, because I have a hard time seeing Edge ever jump ship and go to AEW. Now, we've seen other talent pop up in AEW that I would have said probably the same thing about. So who knows? It's not outside the realm of possibility. But if like I said, I was about to say, I think if that match were to actually go down and happen, I think it would be more likely to happen in WWE. So, and I think Matt going back to WWE is probably an easy thing. You could probably make that happen fairly easy.
Yeah.
Jeff, I think would be the hard part, obviously because of his issues. But my understanding of where Jeff is right now is he's pretty much working rehab, and AW is more than willing to let him come back and work, but he's got to be clean for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So if he's able to pull that off, that could really help with his chances of going back to WWE. And then, you'd have to bring Christian back to WWE. And unless there's anything I don't know about any real bad blood, between Christian and WWE, any bad feelings. But I think with WWE, they do really care about their history, and so I think if you've got those guys retiring, they're all future Hall of Famers, I think WWE would be a lot more willing to make that actually happen and go down and work, so that they can have those guys have their nostalgia moment, have their retirement matches in the place that really built them. It gives, they would sell tons of merch. They would sell tons of pay-per-view buys, tons of tickets. And then you've got the easy, if these guys are retired, you fast track them to the Hall of Fame. You have that right around the corner. It just makes more sense for that to happen in WWE to me.
Yeah. Trying to think of anything else.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I mean, this game of chess with WWE has been going on decades. As you said, with the Monday Night Wars, and then now with AEW.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we all know who's going to come out on top.
Yeah. I mean, I think some pretty crazy things would have to go down, to really topple WWE, and we've seen some crazy things go down, and it's barely made a dent. So,
I mean, look at this. AEW, ever since AEW came to pass, it's toppled NXT, one of the shows of WWE. It has never come close to toppling the two main roster shows.
No, I mean, there's definitely been some weeks here and there where you've had, more viewers, but I mean, we live in a modern age. If you understand how TV ratings work, it's a Nielsen family, thing. It doesn't record everybody that watches on TV. It only records people who participate in the rating system. In the modern age, we have a lot of people who torrent and download these episodes and watch them at their convenience. We have, the network. You have pirate streams. You have all these other ways to watch, that aren't really recorded and don't really go into that factor. So it's hard to really.
Do not pirate live events, ladies and gentlemen.
No. Don't do that. That would be bad. That's a big no. We do not recommend that you do that.
No, that is.
But if you're going to do that, make sure that you have a very good VPN, like
NordVPN.
So yeah, VPN sponsors. If you want to, hit us up and sponsor a show, we'll we can make that happen for you. We can do a nice little promo like we did there and just insert your name.
I like today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
Right. I'm just kidding though. I don't even know what a VPN is, so I would know nothing about that.
I'm glad that you brought up sponsors. I literally on the other tab, half for a joke for a YouTube video later on, I have the Raid Shadow Legends logo up on another page and downloaded so that that I can make a joke. And so I thought, I was like, man, what if we just tie in a Raid Shadowlands sponsorship into this live, just out of the blue?
No, I don't know what that is either. So like legit.
It's been
So some of the Zoomer
game that's overdone.
No, okay. You use Zoomers in your mobile games.
I hate mobile games. The only mobile game I play is WWE Supercard.
Snake. Snake is it for me. That's
I played it through high school when I got bored in math class.
Yeah. No. Snake is king. Well, yeah. I think that's is that gonna do it for this week?
I think so. I think that's gonna be it for tonight and this week.
Yeah. Well, a good time, man. Interesting topic. I dig it. I don't know if you're actually a chess player, but
I dabble.
Yeah. I grew up playing some chess, man. We used to. It was a good extracurricular activity at school. We tried to get a chess club, but not enough interest, man. There's only like a handful of us that were really into it. But battle chess. You ever play battle chess on Nintendo?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. If you ever come across a copy for cheap, man, I know you guys have the vintage systems. Yeah. Get you some battle chess, man. It's a fun little game. I haven't played it in years, but yeah,
I have like 4, 5 systems down here that are not new gen systems. They're NES to N64 to Genesis to SNES.
Yeah, no, I likewise, right in front of me down here at my feet, I've got Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube. I've got a Nintendo emulator. I've got a Sega emulator. All that right here, and that's just my setup in here, man. The other,
I got a freaking Wii right here.
Yeah. The guest room has the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 2, the Wii. Yeah, I've got a Game Gear
and Xbox 360.
Yeah, I've got a Game Gear and an original first gen Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance SP sitting on my table right here. So yeah, old school gaming's where it's at, kids.
Yeah, if all adults should know, and people that grew up with certain video games and consoles should know that going back to playing those games, you get just as mad as you did when you were younger playing those games.
Oh, probably more so. And I've got a Atari emulator that I just picked up right here. That's
I don't like the emulator. I'd rather go get an Atari. Just the Atari.
I'm with you. All the emulators that I have are purely for research purposes. Kind of, figure out what games I maybe want to pick up for the independent consoles. That emulator I picked up for $3 at Goodwill. So, $3.
It's been sitting there since 2019.
Probably. Yeah, you can't beat that. So I don't actually have a dedicated like Atari system. So like I said, the Nintendo emulator that I have, the Sega emulator, those were really just to kind of get to play some of those old games again, and then figure out which ones I wanted to seek out for my independent consoles. Some of them, like Bucky O'Hare for NES. I love the game, good game, but the price on that game is like in the hundreds now. So yeah, the emulator kind of convinced me to just be okay with the emulator version, and not to run out and spend $200 on a Bucky O'Hare video game. So good, worth the purchase there, just to save me $200.
Yeah.
So yeah,
if you are still watching, you have seen the after portion of the wrestling show, and now we're talking about our personal stuff.
yeah, just showing you how much of nerds and losers we actually are.
Yeah, look, we're not just wrestling nerds. We're video game nerds. We're movie nerds. We're comic nerds. We're TV show nerds. We're God.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited to. Have you seen the trailer for this Transformers movie?
I have. I wasn't really a big fan of the Transformers franchise. I watched the first. The first film was okay. The second film lost me. Bowed out for a little while. Bumblebee. Great.
Bumblebee.
Yes, I really liked Bumblebee.
I liked the design.
You weren't a fan of the movie?
I wasn't a fan of the movie.
Oh man, I loved the movie. I thought it was really good. That's kind of what brought me back. And this new movie actually, the new movie actually does it really good.
The big thing I liked in the movie was bringing back the Gen 1 designs.
Yeah, the fight scene.
Yes, on the cyber. My God, give me a War on Cybertron movie.
Yeah, like that for 2.5 hours. Yeah, for
3.
sure.
Just give me an in-game style War on Cybertron movie.
Yeah, that's actually what got my attention and made me watch Bumblebee. I saw the clip from that fight scene and I was like, man, I've got to check this out. Me being an older guy, the music for Bumblebee was really cool, man. They're playing the Smiths and some of these old, bands that I grew up on. So Bumblebee was good, but yeah, the new Transformers looks really good, man. I'm probably gonna check that out.
Yeah, I like they're not doing the same designs they did in Bumblebee for the characters, but they're making Gen 1 designs and then recreating them a little bit to newer designs.
Yeah, kind of modernizing them a bit.
Right. And John, this is now the after portion of the show, I guess.
No longer a wrestling show.
The words of Farouk.
Damn. Well, all right. Yeah, I guess good time to bow out. We'll nerd out in private, so we won't subject you guys to any more of the non-wrestling talk.
Yeah. Now the wrestling talk, Marvel, DC talk. I can go on for days about that. Kevin Conroy's final voice acting will be Batman in the Kill the Justice League video game. Didn't know he died recently.
Yeah.
Kind of hit me right here because I love the Batman TV shows, and he was always the voice of Batman.
Yeah, the animated series, man, is great. Definitely one of the best Batman productions ever.
Just the line, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman. God. Anyways, thank you all for joining and for watching through all this. We've just about to hit 2-hour mark, and we've run out of wrestling things to say. I'm Big Bubba Brogdon.
I'm Bush Dingo, the Luchador.
And we'll see you next time for episode 10. The search for more sponsors.
All right. Well, yeah. You guys enjoy your week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.